Hello, humanity. Welcome back to the We Are Not Lonely podcast. Now, even during classes, we had this small pattern, and I think I'm gonna stick to that because human beings love comfort and they find comfort in the familiar. So, this is gonna be my part. This is gonna be my attempt at bringing the environment of the Vedanta classes to the podcast, sort of, right? What generally would happen is a couple of people would log on and we would have a small bit of satsang while we were waiting for Srinivasanji, that is our Acharya, right? So until the class starts, we don't chant the mantras and shlokas, and I'm gonna follow the same thing. So anything that is not Vedanta related will be mentioned before the stuff. So, couple of things. This is gonna be the last podcast for a while from this particular location. Ha! Almost got you there, didn't I? I'm gonna be moving somewhere new, and a lot of things are gonna be happening. For one, I'm definitely gonna be going through this whole training arc, and I'm really freaking excited. I can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun. It's literally, I'm an anime character, and this is my training arc. So I'm not gonna be on Insta as much. I hope you understand. The podcast will be out weekly. I'm still not able to, create a nice future log so I can, create a nice buffer just in case. But I will be able to do that. I will do that. I'm serious about this and I'm gonna make it happen. So I'm moving to a new location, an undisclosed location, and I'm definitely gonna find the love of my life over there because love is in the air. Yeah. So yeah, let this is gonna happen, dude. I'm gonna go there for my training arc, and she's gonna turn up to not disturb my meditation and tapas, but to further help me progress even further. Right. So I think I've spoken enough into existence. A small reason why I'm speaking about all of this stuff is because I've heard recently that there are certain Ashwini Devatas that sit up in Swarga and they keep uttering Tathastu, Tathastu, Tathastu. And that is why there's this Vriddha Vyavahara. We are always taught by our ancestors to always speak good. Because the Ashwini Devatas will be listening to all of this and they'll say this particular thing called Tathastu, which means so be it. Right? And their words have power because they are very powerful. Devatas. They're like angels. They are divine, but they're not, the ultimate. Yeah. We'll get to that later. That's part of the entire reason why, Swarga and heaven. We're just gonna skim the surface. Those who want to know more can, contact me. Details will be in the bio. My Insta. Just hit me up there, slide into my DMs, join my cult. We'll have satsang and you can take prasadam. Without further ado, let's get to the class, yeah? So, kindly close your eyes. We're gonna begin the prayers now. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Ishvaro Gururarthmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. I hope you remember what that means. I'm going to be touching upon a few of the topics that we spoke about, the important things, right? In the last podcast episode, in the last class, we spoke about the Vedas. We touched upon the Tantras as well. we just just spoke about what they are and the importance of Apaurusheya Pramanam and why that is so important in the Sampradaya. And you can choose to accept it or not. You have a choice, and you're not going to be cast into an eternally flaming lake of hellfire just because you made the wrong choice, right? Just because you chose to believe the wrong thing. That's not going to happen here, right? It's important that you understand that. There are consequences for your actions, and that we'll get to later. That is karma and karma phala. That's an entire topic by itself. But understand this so far: you are free to believe anything you want. As per the Shastra, you have freedom in Shastras, right? We'll get to that later. Anyway, so a couple of things that I wanted to reiterate. Uh, One of the most important things is we are speaking about the Shastraha. So when we speak about the Shastras, it's important to remember the definition. Sashanatrayate iti Shastraha. That which commands in the initial phase and then teaches in the later phases, all in order to protect the individual, is called Shastra. Sashanatrayate iti Shastraha. Another thing that is important is, since we're talking about the Vedas, everything that is in the Veda is technically a mantra. And the definition of a mantra is mananat trayate iti mantraha. They are meant for contemplation, meditation, and assimilation. It's good to meditate upon the mantras. And anything and everything in the Vedas are mantras. If they are not Vedic in origin, they are not considered, technically speaking, mantras. Okay? I hope I've made that clear. I will just talk about, I'll touch on this particular thing that I've wanted to speak about for a while. So, since I spoke about Vedanta, I will touch upon that towards the end of this as well, but I'm just going to talk about it, right? It's important to understand that there are certain non-translatables in Sanskrit and in the Vedas and so on and so forth. For example, Veda literally means knowledge, and it's deeper than that. It comes from the word vid, which means to know. So all that is worth knowing is I don't want to make that comment that, anything that is not in the Vedas is not worth knowing, because that sets a very dangerous precedent. There was, when the Library of Alexandria was discovered, apparently the person in charge was asked, what do we do with the books? There are so many books here. What do we do with them? And the person replied saying that if what is in the Quran is in these books, then they are of no use, burn them all. If what is in these books is not in the Quran, it is dangerous, so burn them all. So that's not the kind of thinking I want to encourage here. That's not the kind of thinking we do, right? I'm going to be talking about what is in the Vedas and why it's important in today's podcast episode, right? So the reason I began on this particular path is to tell you that there are certain non-translatables, and traditionally, particularly for example, there's a text for in each of the paths that you choose. For example, if it was Vedanta, then you're expected to memorize this particular text called Tattva Bodha, and that explains most of the preliminary terms and the things that you'll be dealing with in the course of the education of Vedanta. If you're studying Vedanta, if you're doing Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam, Shravana means listening, Manana means, you're doing your own homework, you're assimilating, and Nididhyasanam is you're contemplating. It's also this Nididhyasanam practice where you have guided meditation, where you contemplate, where you meditate upon certain mantras. So this is the process of Vedanta, and it's lifelong, right? In the particular path of the Shastras, for example, if you're studying Advaita Vedanta, you have to study this particular text called Tattva Bodha, which explains all of the terms that you will come across in the study of Shastras. So since it's particularly important, I've listened to a few lectures by Swamiji Paramatmanandaji, and I liked his approach, so I'm kind of doing the same thing here. These are from my notes of listening to his lectures and listening to Srinivasanji's lectures and listening to Puja Swamiji, Dayanand Saraswati ji's lectures as well. So this is an amalgam of all of these things. None of this is from my particular thought, and all of this is obviously from Sri Adi Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. Alright? This is important and I'll get to it. None of this is Kapola Kalpitam. This is all as per Sampradaya. None of this is from my imagination. This is a very important topic in Vedanta, so I'm just going to touch upon it. There's this concept called the Prasthanatrayam, in which there are 3 particular books that are studied by students of Vedanta. And they are Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, I think there are about 12 if I'm not wrong, and the Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. Okay, you start with Smriti Prasthanam, and then you go to Shruti Prasthanam, and then you end up with Brahma Sutra, which is a logical text. Brahma Sutram is the culmination. That means and after all of this comes, if you have the right guru and all, you learn things like Panchadashi and the heavy hardcore texts in Vedanta. And once you're done with all of that, you head towards Dakshinamurti Stotram. I'm still in, Bhagavad Gita and Kathopanishad. This is my mananam. It helps me with my understanding of the Shastras. So that's why I'm here. Alright. So, what is the Tattva Bodha? It's a foundational prose work. It's written primarily in Sanskritam and it's attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. It explains all of the important terminologies that are required to understand the concepts that are explored in the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. So this is once you understand certain topics, certain things that are mentioned here, hopefully over the next few podcast episodes, you will be in a position to understand certain terminologies. Because like I've said, these are non-translatables. Alright. So the first term that we're going to be exploring today is this term called Purushartha. The first word I'm going to be explaining today is this particular term called Purushartha. Alright. It's what is spoken about in the Veda. How do you achieve Purushartha? You could say this is what the Veda talks about. In short. Okay. So, since I've spoken about a particular new word, I'm gonna be explaining it, obviously. Let's break it down. Purushartha. Purushaha. In this particular context, Purushaha is used to mean all of humanity. It's used in the same way as we use man for mankind, as a short term of mankind. Another way to explain this would be Manushartha, and it can be roughly translated as human goals. Right? Purusha meaning human and Artha meaning goals, roughly translated. But let's go a little deeper, right? What is Artha? Artha kim? The word Artha has several meanings, one of which means meaning itself. The meaning of the word Artha is meaning. Alright? But in this particular term, it also means goals. So Purushartha, literally, the goals that humanity can strive towards. Alright? Sarvaihi manushyehi prartyate iti arthaha. Whatever is sought after by humanity is called artha. That is, any goal sought after by humans can be termed as Purushartha. Alright? So, other meanings also include like free will, choice, effort, as in prayatna. Okay. Now, by saying Purushartha, we make a clear distinction, and there's this very subtle nuance over there. We're distinguishing ourselves. This is not something that can be sought after by animals. It can only be sought after by humans. Alright? The idea is that plants and animals cannot seek after these, only humans can. By seeking after this, we are distinguished from plants and animals, and we're also considered superior to them. What is the difference though? Because when we look at it, technically speaking, scientifically speaking, we're also technically animals, right? So the Shastras also agree on that particular point. They say that, humans and animals are kind of similar, but there is also a difference. And I'm going to explain that using a shloka. आहारनिद्राभयमैथुनञ्च सामान्यम् एतद् पशुभिर्नराणाम् बुद्धिर्हि तेषाम् अधिको विशेषो बुद्ध्या विहीना पशुभिः समानाः. So let me explain like word by word. Ahara, food, things that you eat. Nidra, sleep. Bhayam, fear. Maitunam cha. Maithunam is sex, sexual intercourse. Cha is like and. Over here we use cha at the end of a sentence. We don't say X, Y, Z. X, Y and Z. It's like X, Y, Z and. That's how the Sanskrit grammar works. So ahar nidra bhayam maitunancha. Food, sleep, fear and sexual intercourse. These four things are common between both man and animals. बुद्धिर्हि तेषाम् अधिको विशेषः बुद्ध्या विहीना पशुभिर samanyah. The intellect is that which makes humans different from animals. Without this crucial thing, without the intellect, that means that humans and animals are the same. Okay? So buddhi, intellect, that is the faculty to think, judge and forecast. Alright? So this, one of the functions of the intellect is that it allows humanity, it permits humans to compare themselves with themselves and also with other humans. So, the four possible human goals, what are they if one asks? Because there are four of them. They would be Artha, Kama, Dharma and Moksha. But when people speak of it, it rolls off the tongue to say Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And we'll get to what they are, but we'll start with Artha. Because it's somewhat like, this concept is similar to what Maslow spoke about, right? But this is like thousands of years older, just saying. So let's talk about Artha. The word Artha again, in this particular context, it means security and wealth. This comes first, and it refers to all of the things that a human being needs for survival, for security. Generally, in the Indian culture, one is expected to go after the Holy Trinity, and I've spoken about this in an earlier podcast about wealth, right? I used to speak about roti, kapda, makan. Roti meaning food, kapda meaning clothes, and makan meaning shelter, right? So once you take care of these are the basics. Anything that helps you survive, all of these three help you survive. They get you have a roof on top of your head, you have clothes on your back, and you have food in your belly. These are the basic things, food and water, right? These are the basic things that one needs to take care of one's survival. Okay, so if we have to describe this particular level, we would say that all of this is done to make sure that we are not afraid. Abhaya praptyartham, to remove the fear from life. We're not always looking just for survival. This, once survival is taken care of, we move on to the next level, which is kamaha. Once the basic necessities are taken care of and one no longer has to scrabble just to survive on a daily basis, you move on to the next level. Now, I will just make a statement here. A lot of humanity is not even able to accomplish this. We're not going to talk about wealth levels and income parity and the vast gap between uh, different levels of wealth and so on and so forth. But just understand that there is huge inequality, and there's a reason for that. It's called the Pareto principle, but we're not going to get into that now. All right. So basically, a lot of humanity is stuck at this level. They're not even able to get their basic necessities. Okay. But once a person's basic necessities are taken care of, they move on to the next level, which is karma. What is karma? Let me explain. Literally, karma, the word is desire. Generally speaking, it's used in the term of sexual desire and love and so on and so forth, particularly desire. Alright? In this particular term, it also covers desire, it also covers luxury, comfort, or entertainment. Okay? So once you're done with, basic level of survival, you start looking for more. You want more from life. So generally speaking, a way that people move on from artha to karma is they upgrade their level, their lifestyle. All right, and this happens to many people who have, who keep moving through life and they're not able to have any money left because there's this thing called lifestyle creep, where even though they're used to staying at a lower level, they're used to spending a lower level of money, even though they have higher income, their lifestyle is upgraded to match that. So generally what they do is literally they upgrade roti, kapda and makan. Okay, so if they were having like basic roti without ghee and all that, maybe they'll add little ghee at the second level. Then they'll move on from roti. They might have like butter kulcha, some stuff like that. They move on. I'm giving literal roti examples. So instead of having rice and dal, maybe you have something fancy like a biryani, and you upgrade. Like basically you upgrade. It's not just to fill your stomach. You want something nice to fill your stomach. That is desire. That is luxury. But for most, like, this is the second level. Most of humanity is stuck between these two. They stuck fulfilling security needs and their desires. And obviously, better house, own house, certain desires come up. No, rented house is not enough. I want to live my own house. I want to buy my own house. I want to build my own house. You see the various things, maybe apartment. Alright, so we've covered artha and we've covered karma. So artha refers to all of the things that are necessary for our survival, whereas karma refers to all of the things that are beyond artha. Quality artha. Like I gave an example, you're having plain rice, and instead of plain rice, you're having pulao or biryani or something like that. That's an upgrade. You're no longer just filling your stomach for the sake of filling your stomach. You're filling your stomach with style and taste. Third thing is dharma. Artha, kama, and dharma. So, what is dharma? In this particular context of the Purusharthas, dharma refers to an invisible form of wealth. It is also called luck, fortune, and all of the other invisible forms of wealth that don't directly contribute to one's well-being but indirectly contribute to it. Since they're invisible forms of wealth, they are also the other names that we could call dharma would be like punyam, adhishtam, adrishtam, and literally if you look at the word adrishtam, that which is not seen. Drishtam is what you see. Drishta means to see, right? Drish means to see. Drishtam is that which is seen, and adrishtam is that which is not seen. Alright, so it's an invisible form of wealth which can be earned by following certain procedures, and I'll talk about how to earn this invisible form of wealth in there'll be an entire podcast dedicated to all of this. How to earn punyam, passive punyam generation, etc., etc. Right? So, since one can spend time, money, and effort in the pursuit of accruing this invisible wealth called punyam, adrishtam, etc., it is also a purushartha. It is also a human goal, since it is something that can be achieved. Alright. Now I'm just gonna go off on a small, sort of related, what's the word for it? Tangent. Right. I'm gonna go on a small tangent here. But it's kind of related. Alright. So generally speaking, all Dharma is the only of the Purushastras. I mean, I haven't gotten to moksha, but so far, among Artha, Kama, and Dharma is not just useful for this life, it's also useful for the next. Now, the Vedic viewpoint is that one is born and one dies indefinitely, and it is beautifully summarized in this particular verse from the Bhaja Govindam. It is Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jatare Shayanam. Iha samsare bahudastare kripaya pare pahi murare. Now these are lines from the Bhaja Govindam, which is also a text that is attributed to Sri Adi Shankaracharya. There's a very beautiful poetic story about how Bhaja Govindam came about. But that is not important right now. We'll talk about the contents of what that particular verse says, right? Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. One is born and one dies indefinitely. It's a constant cycle. Okay. Iha samsari. So this world is called samsara sagara. It's called the ocean of suffering. For a certain reason, because you come here and life is about suffering. Life is about carrying a very heavy burden throughout it. Or people don't understand that they have to pick their burdens, and that makes it worthwhile. Alright? So you pick your kind of suffering. Alright? Life is suffering. Because if it was all pleasure, no one would care about life. Yeah. You need to have that suffering to balance out the pleasure. So the Vedantic viewpoint is that this is samsara sagara, because pursuit of pleasure leads to nothing but just more dukkham, and that's what most of humanity is stuck in. Forget dharma, forget doing things in the right manner. They commit sins, they cheat, they kill, they lie, all of that just to acquire artha and kama. Now earlier I spoke about how you're free to believe or not believe, and based on your belief or non-belief, you're not cast into a just based on your belief or non-belief, you're not cast into a ever-burning pit of hell. All right. But we did speak about purusharthas and we spoke about dharma, and now I'm going to touch upon how to earn dharma. It's basically to do good deeds. All right. What are these good deeds? The nuances we will speak about in another episode. But one such thing that you can do is dhanam, charity. And that's why it is revered across all religions, as far as I'm aware. Help someone in need, reach out to someone in need. And that person will bless you and you will gain some sort of invisible wealth called punyam. And this punyam takes care of you not only in this life, it also takes care of you in the next life. It's a form of it's an invisible wealth that, makes your life easier and helps you acquire artha and kama a little more easily. Okay? I was at Bhaja Govindam's certain verses. Iha samsare bahudustari. This life is very difficult and full of suffering. It's an ocean of suffering. Kripaya pare pahi murare. Please save me, oh God. Please help me out. That's literally that line. And you should listen to M.S. Subbalakshmi sing it. So full of emotion. Kripaya pare pahi murare. Something like that. And then it goes to Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. Oh, fool, worship Govinda. Why did I go on to this? Because, I was speaking about this life and the next life. It's this cycle of birth and rebirth and suffering. We're stuck in this constant cycle. And what dharma does is it makes the circumstances of this life and the next life a little better than usual. Now, I'm going to go on another tangent, but it's all related. It'll all make sense in the end, right? Now, if you think about the initial circumstances of one's life, they're completely out of one's hands. You did not choose your parents, the kind of parents, their qualities, how, you be treated in your initial years when you do nothing but literally cry because that's the only way you can communicate with the outside world. You don't know what's happening. Any discomfort, you cry. To communicate, you cry. And then slowly you learn other things, right? So the kind of parents you have, you cannot choose. You do not choose. The upbringing, the environment that you're born in, how you're treated as a child in the very crucial initial phases of your development. All of that you can't really choose. But the idea is that doing dharma helps improve the circumstances regarding all of this. If you have a good amount of punya karma, the circumstances in the next life are going to be a little easier, right? And we'll talk about this in a later thing that is purely dedicated to karma and karma phala, because this is something I want to get into in great detail. Okay? So another point that I have to mention here is that, whatever happens in childhood, and this modern psychology and psychiatry and all of that agrees that the initial years are very instrumental. The direction of one's life is heavily determined by the kind of childhood that one has. Because let's face it, like parents, no matter how much they try, they do nothing but cause trauma for their children. Straight up. And that's what basically most like therapy is. Yeah, you've got this trauma, you've got that trauma. And you need to figure out how to work through all of that trauma. You need to assimilate. You might have to, get integrated with the shadow, the dark side of yourself, and all of that nonsense. So anyway, I went on this tangent just to say that if you want a better life, that is both next life as well as this life, it is necessary to earn a great deal of punya. Okay? And these are certain things that are hard wired into our culture. If we see someone doing well in their life, அதிருஷ்டா இதப்பா உனக்கு ரொம்ப அதிருஷ்டம் இருக்கு அந்த மாதிரியெல்லாம் சொல்லுவோம் நாங்கள். I'm just flexing my knowledge in languages. I just spoke like 2 different languages, South Indian languages, Kannada and Tamil. So yeah, that's basically to say, oh, not bad, that person is lucky, he's very fortunate, he has a great deal of fortune. This is very dirty word in modern things that, they've dirtied it. It's privilege. I refuse to, dude, like privilege is good. Accept it. Yeah, it's good to have privilege. And the idea is that there's this idea of unearned privilege. Now, the reason I don't agree with that at all is because of the idea of karma and karma theory, karma phala. Okay? Every action has a consequence. Whatever energy you put out into the world, you will receive its thing. It's there in Newton's laws, no? Huh? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just transforms from one form to another. So every single word that we're speaking right now, it's like vibrations, dude. We're putting out energy, sound energy into the universe, and it just goes out there. That's why mantras are so powerful. They uplift and purify the environment. Vedic science is very deep, dude. People don't understand. The time will come when they understand all of this. They don't understand how important it is to speak the right kind of things. You can go into a great deal of depth here, but I've digressed a little too much. So the idea here is essentially, if you want to have a good life, you have to do punya karma. Not just this life, next life also. But certain ideologies are like, we don't want next life. Okay. So, but I'm jumping the gun again. Let's get back to this. There's this idea of dharma, artha, kama. Okay, so far we've spoken about artha, which is security. We've spoken about kama, which is luxury, entertainment, little beyond just basic necessities. And we've spoken about dharma, which is an invisible wealth, which facilitates both artha and kama. Alright? So these are three goals that one, like, broadly speaking, you can put all of life into this. Why does one pursue a good career? Why does one study very hard in life? Yeah? It is all connected to ahara nidra bhayam maitunancha initially, and then, roti kapda makan. And then slowly, from there you go to, you go from artha, then you go to kama, and then you slowly move to dharma. Why do you help out a person? Generally speaking, the thing is like, I'm doing good. Someday some good will come back to me. There's that small expectation somewhere in the back of the mind. That's why people do charity. In certain cultures, you're encouraged to do charity because it will earn you a place in heaven in the next, once you die and you go up there to be judged before the pearly gates. They'll look at your life ledger, how many good things has he done, how many bad things has he done. They'll weigh the overall thing. And apparently they take into great account whether you're a believer or non-believer. And apparently in certain cultures, they say if you're a non-believer, they don't even look at what kind of actions you've done. Immediately they'll take you and throw you into an everlasting burning fire pit where you'll suffer just for not believing. This is the situation. I've heard certain lectures, I've heard certain sermons about all this. I disagree, and I have very good reason for that. Whatever action you do, there is a consequence. You're free to speak, you're free to do, you're free to think whatever the hell you want. Whatever you want. Whatever the hell or heaven in solla. I'm literally quoting from Swami Paramatmanandaji's lecture. Same thing he says. You're free to believe whatever the heaven you want. Okay? You're free to believe, think, do, speak, whatever the heaven you want. But you're not free from the consequences. Okay? So we'll talk about this in great detail, this action and consequence, which is literally karma and karma pala. Action, reaction. Familiar? Science students will be like, these words sound very familiar. The last two combination particularly. Abdinu solluvar. Anyway, yeah, so that's the thing, yeah. Put together dharma, artha and kama are known as preyaha. So if you had to put an equation at this point, because certain engineers and all, they love equations, mathematicians also love equations. Preyaha is equal to dharma plus artha plus kama. If you had to put in Sanskritam, dharma artha kama kamamcha preyaha, something like that. These three are equal to preyaha. So anything that is acquired deliberately, legitimately and with planning is preyaha. Now, we've spoken about 3 so far, but there are 4 Purusharthas, which is interesting because there are 4 Vedas. Now there are 4 Purusharthas. Certain numbers keep repeating. There's a certain Shastra in Vaidika Dharma called numerology, but we're not going to be talking about that. But certain things exist. Certain secrets can be decoded using numbers itself. But we'll get to that later. Alright? So, the final Purushartha is called moksha. What is moksha? Literally speaking, it is mukti. It is freedom from a certain bondage. What is bondage? What are we bonded to? What are we bound by? Right? Good question. There's this beautiful line from the Kathopanishad, which I'm not going to quote. It goes something like Shreyascha Preyascha Manushyam Etaha. Something like that, yeah. Vinikti. I'm not going to. I'll cut this part out. Shreyascha Preyascha Manushyam Etaha. Okay. So, what is moksha? Literally speaking, in one word, you can say moksha is freedom. Obviously, the question arises, freedom from what? Well, it is freedom from preyaha, from the need to obsessively run after dharmartha kama. That freedom is called moksha. Because generally speaking, this is the true rat race. This is the matrix. Because everybody looks, dharmartha kama, okay, fine. This is what traps the majority of humanity. Matrix came out, 1990 something, right? 2000s. This idea of like us being enslaved by certain concepts has been in the Vedas. It's been hard-coded into the Vedas. How many thousands of years ago? Good question, right? We are bound by something, by certain ideas that we have to run after dharmartha kama. This is the rat race. Now, like, technically speaking, we are enslaved by the material. When I say material, I'm going to be talking about preyaha, which is about the pursuit and acquisition of dharmartha kama. We are bound by either a person or an object's absence. Oh, I don't have such and such a thing. Oh, I don't have such and such a person. I'm not married. I don't have a girlfriend. Ayyo. Example. I'm not saying this is my situation. No. That's not what I'm saying. Alright? The absence of an object creates an emptiness within a person, and that causes craving. And that lack of something leads you to become a slave, because you're always thinking about, how do I acquire such a thing? I don't have money. How do I get money? This is a line that, is common to a lot of people. So different people have different problems, different lacks, different things. Some people might not have girlfriends. Some people might not have money. Some people don't have anything to eat. So, like I said, different people, different problems. If I have to, adillaye. This is Tamil for, I don't have that. That I don't have. That is one. Like, I'm lifting a lot liberally from Swamiji's talk. I love his way of dealing with these particular topics. Okay. And two, you are enslaved by an object or a person's presence. Because someone exists, you're in bondage. You're bound, So, gaining mastery over this need to continuously run after preyaha is what turns us from a dasa, because we are slaves to the material world. We are slaves to pleasure. We are slaves to food. We are slaves to the idea of doing better, to go, do good things, to go to heaven. That thought, that mind, that process of I do good things so I can get good things. This itself is a slavery. So if you gain mastery over this and you say no, you rise above, you become a Swami, you are no longer Dasa. This is what is called an internal Swamitvam, that internal sannyasam. This internal mastery is called moksha. Whether it's there or it's not there, whether you have prayer, you don't have prayer, you're the same. You're not disturbed. That is moksha. So on that note, we will end today's discussion. But I had a great time talking about it. Let me just end with a prayer. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamugacchate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So that's literally the last podcast I've recorded in my hometown for a while. I don't know when I'm going to get the opportunity to record and do all this from the comfort of my house. But we'll see. Yeah. Had an amazing time recording this particular podcast. Like I said, this is a new thing. It requires me to do a great deal of preparation. And I'm enjoying this particular phase that I'm going through. Yeah. Been difficult. I'm recording this late at night. I wanted to put this out today. It's almost midnight, but it's gonna have to come out on Saturday. I'm having fun doing this though. I've promised to have fun no matter what happens. And that's what's gonna happen here. So, everybody, I'm off on an adventure. I'm gonna be doing my training arc. I'm gonna be getting my stuff together. I'll be becoming literally, to quote Jordan Peterson, this is the part where I become a true monster. I'm gonna become such a horribly demented, powerfully destructive creature. And I'm gonna have to be able to hold that in check. I'll do my best. There's a lot of deep things that we're gonna be exploring over the next couple of weeks, months, I don't know how long. But stick around, it's gonna be a brilliant thing. Once in a while, when we get too deep, we're gonna take a break. Once the Vedanta things are done, I will try to make it an in-person, maybe like a Zoom class or something. We'll figure it out, yeah? But that's going to be very small, very limited. One class a week, maybe, perhaps. Just satsang. We have to figure it out. How exactly will the cult function? We have the cult leader, that is me. I'm looking for disciples. I'm looking for people to join the cult. Let me know if you're interested. Yeah. Anyway, jokes aside, I love my little jokes, man. Don't worry about it. Once this whole thing is done, I have a bunch of other topics that I'm going to be doing. Some certain things that are necessary. And once in a while, we'll have that, I believe a lot of people are missing the banter between Leo and myself. We'll make it happen. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for dropping by. Let me know what you think of this particular episode of the We Are Not Lonely podcast. Drop a comment, leave a like, do subscribe. We love it when you do that. I will see you around. Ciao.